And I think we're live. Well, welcome everyone. I'm only going to be here for a second and then I'm going to play the intro video just while I get my coffee and get organised. Just want to explain a little bit about the video that I'm going to show. This was a workshop that I did in Melbourne last year, I think. And it was shot with the Sony a7 III and I used the A9 to film with. So let me just quit the email. So we're going to start with that just while I get organised. It'll give you something to watch for 5 minutes and then we'll start the show from there. So let me switch over and I'll be back in a couple of minutes. G'day everyone. Well, we're having our first meetup, which we're really excited about doing. So we can't wait basically to get along in this shoot. So we've got the lovely Kiara here today. There's a stack of shooters that we've got around here. We're basically just going to go through a similar shoot that I did when I tested the Tamron. So we're going to walk all around this lane. I'm going to be starting today with the Sony a7 III. I'm actually using the A9 to film me from here with the 32mm 2.8. And I'm going to use the a7 III with the 55 to start out with. The reason why I'm going to use that lens is because I want to make this environmental and capture the whole laneway. I didn't even bring my 70-200 today, so I thought I'd just concentrate on the primes. So we're basically going to see how we go. So we're looking forward to it, guys. What do you reckon? Woo!
You came from, only what you gon' do tonight. This is what we came for. Let's find out what we're made of tonight. The way you rock the dance floor, I can feel your heartbeat on mine. I don't know what I'm in for, but baby, keep it going. I don't mind. We dance like nobody's watching. Dance like nobody's watching. My hands on your body, surroundings getting foggy tonight, but we just getting started. Sophistical and flawless, unite, and we just wanna stay. It's obvious, it's all clear now. I know what I'm in for, so baby, keep it going. I don't mind. We dance like nobody's watching. Dance like nobody's watching. Dance like nobody's watching.
So I really wanted to thank everyone for popping down today. We've had a ball. We've done multiple locations sort of coming around these lanes, smoke, everything. The guys have been absolutely fantastic and I really think they've had a ball. I really wanted to thank Kiara too for doing this for everyone, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. It shows what a great person she is, and I really appreciate it. Obviously the help from Karen, Kara's mum, and Kerry obviously here as well, my better half, and I really wanted to thank you all so much, so thanks. Woohoo! Welcome everyone. That was such a fun workshop. I can't wait to get those working again. We had an absolute ball on that day. Let me just stop that so it's finished. Yeah, that was one we do, like I usually do them yearly, those sort of workshops that are free. They're free. They're just, what I do normally when I get up to a certain percentage of my viewers, I do the workshops. Now I'm just about to hit 30,000, so I'm so happy. I'm only 200 away, I think. So I'll probably hit it probably tomorrow or the next day. I think I'll be on 30,000, so I'm really excited about that. Unfortunately, due to us being in lockdown for at least the next 2 weeks here, I won't be able to do that sort of a meetup, but I will do a meetup like that again as soon as we're able to do it without the, you know, all the virus stuff that's going around. So that will be in the coming days, I would say. So thank you so much for all the support, everyone. And like I said, it's a big deal for me to get up to 30,000, particularly, you know, no sponsorship or anything like that, just all on my own. So I'm very happy to get there. Got some fun things to show you today. There's not really that much in news, but there is some interesting things I've found. I watched a video the other day from Sony Australia, actually. It was showing a feature for the a7S III that I thought I'd start with today. But let's go to the chat first. Excuse me. Let's go here. Find out who's in the chat today. Let me quit this too. So we've got Dana's here. George is also here. Sunburned. Greeting from New Jersey. It's a beautiful day. I've just taken my dog Ziggy around the block this morning. It was beautiful this morning. Spring's just about hit here. So another day or so and we'll be into spring. It's 20 degrees Celsius today, so it's a lovely day. Rob also said, I love this comment because he said it's sad commentary on my life when I spend my Friday night watching David Osler pull up the Sony Alpha Rumours website and read it. Chris said, hello David, hot day in Los Angeles. Yeah, we've just got a lovely day here, but I'll be having my drinks again soon with you. It's starting to warm up. If you looked at that shoot, I've got all those bottles and I'm going to drink all of that vodka bottles that I'm going to be drinking. If you check it out, I've showed how I did a product photography shoot the other day. I showed that. So have a look at that and I'm going to drink those very, very soon. That's the good part about doing that. I'm not allowed to drink them all. There's 4 boxes of 4 different types of these vodka drinks and stuff. Chris is saying, hello, David, hot day. Yeah, I read that one. Mario is also here as well. G'day, Mario. Cam is saying hello. Leslie said, hi, David, and all. Looking forward to the morning show. Ripe is saying, hello, David. I didn't miss this time, so good to see you here. Barry's here as well. John is saying hi from Bloomington. Is that Illinois, I suppose? Maradona says, g'day, mate. Hope everything with you, fellow Victorians down there. Fine, yeah, we're 2 weeks. The numbers are looking good. I think there was less than 100 we had today, so the numbers are really spiking down. So we're hoping that we can get out of this lockdown in 2 weeks. I know that he did look like Jason Lanier, didn't he? A lot of people have said that, actually. Where are we? William said, hi, David. Great to catch you live again. Billy. G'day, Billy. Yep, I'm here. Wesley said, weekly Kiara. Yeah, I can't get enough of watching Kiara. She's amazing. I've still got to produce that studio shoot where she was just in the man's shirt with just underwear on. I've got to do that and I'll get it done. I've still got to do your workshop, Ike. I've got to get time to even do that. So that's still coming. I might try and get that done this week, actually. Julian said, good evening, everyone. Carl is also here. Pop Smoke, yeah, I always have a ball doing that. Sizzleman's here. G'day, Kevin. Joe said, hello from Lilydale. Stage 4 lockdown. Will you have workshops back again? Yeah, I certainly will as soon as the workshops, as soon as the lockdown is finished. I've got that pin-up workshop that's fully sold, but that is going to happen once we're out of lockdown as well. But I will definitely have the meetup, the big meetup like we did. And I think we had 30, 40 people last time. So I'll be doing one of those again as well with a couple of models and things. Nivak said, greetings. Julian said, hello, David. It's been a while and I've missed your videos. You look great and can't wait to see those baby Sonys. Stay safe. Yeah, I know. Thank you so much, Julian. Nice to see you back here. Shane said, hi from Melbourne. Spring has sprung up. Normally don't get to watch live as I'm working. I know, what a beautiful day it is today, Shane. Like I said, I've been out for an hour this morning on a walk with my dog Ziggy and Kerry. Josie... Is it Jose? I can never work how you say that. Hello, David. Nice beat. Thank you so much. Do you like it? I've been getting served by some people, but I'm enjoying it. Kerry likes it, so that's all that matters, I suppose. John said, hello from New York City. Hello from Washington, D.C. Axman said. John said, hey, David, good day. Photo Miak said, I'm currently outside of Eugene. Oh, is that Oregon, is it? 7 hours left to drive till I get to Sacramento, California. Oh, so you're going to California for a little bit. Like, that sounds like it'd be fun. I'm heading to Monument Valley, Utah in a week. Oh, I love Monument Valley. I had an absolute ball there. You're going to love it. Maradona said, just donated an early present for your Father's Day. Did you? What was it? Because nothing came up on here. Just donated an early present. Well, I'll have to check. Let me just see. Is there anything being mailed to me? I don't know. Well, perhaps it's still got to come. John said, I'm drinking a nice, what's that, Chantini, is it? No liver or fava beans, just pizza. Anthony said, did you hear about the rumoured Sony A5 price of $2,000? I don't think they'd be charging that much, surely, Anthony. I'll talk about that in the second story today. David, by the time you get to that WPPI workshop, it'll be the time for the next one. I know, I will do it. I will definitely try and do it this week or the next week. Because I really do want to get it up. I've got lots of lovely images. I just haven't had the time. I've been doing product shoots. The funny thing is, since I've been in lockdown, I've been busier doing a lot of other things, like reviews, product shots, stuff like that. So it's interesting. So it's kept me busy in that regard, even though I've lost weddings and everything else, but at least it's kept me going. Have you been to Monument Valley before? If you get the chance, also try to get to Moab. Yes, I have. I loved Monument Valley. Oh, you're talking to someone else there. All right, guys, well, let's get started. Oh, I didn't put the timer on again. Oh, well, here we go. So let me start this up and we'll get going. Well, welcome everyone. And thank you, Maradona, for that donation. The PayPal donation did just come through. So thank you so much. Really appreciate the support. It's like my Patreon viewers as well. They're supporting the channel. So thank you so much for giving me that support as well. So I really appreciate that. Beautiful day in Melbourne today. Had a lovely walk this morning. Looking forward to the rest of the day. Actually, it's a gorgeous day today. It's good to be coming out of winter. Hopefully, we'll be able to start shooting again if we get out of this lockdown. I think there was less than 100 today, people with new viruses. So the numbers have really dropped down. So hopefully it'll be eliminated in the next 2 weeks. So that should be exciting. Got some great stories to share with you today. One interesting one for the a7S III actually is the one I'm going to start with today. And it's from Sony Australia. So this is really interesting because if you use the app, which is called, I always get confused. What are we in? Let me just check. It is the Image Edge app, which is the Sony app for using remote controlling in your Sony cameras. One of the things that I noticed was missing, particularly, was the autofocus side to it. For some reason, Sony have never enabled video autofocus. When I'm saying autofocus is where you can actually click and see the icon where you're clicking into and getting focus and racking focus and doing things like that. It will focus, but you really have no control over it. Well, I noticed with the a7S III, they've added a different functionality to it and they've enabled it for the first time. Now, I didn't know this And I only saw it when I watched the Sony announcement the other day in the Sony Australia site. They had like this, I'll leave the link down below, but they had a discussion where they showed this actually working. And it's quite a good Q&A if you want to watch the Q&A after this. Like I said, I'll leave the link down below. But let me cross over to this and I'll show you what I mean. Now, the only thing is he's got it fairly small, so it might be a little bit hard to explain. But what it means is that you can actually click inside the viewfinder on the Image Edge app and control things like manual focus and automatic focus and even tracking. And you can see the tracking box, which I don't think has been enabled anywhere else. But let me just switch over to this and I'll show you the story. So let me press play. So I'll press play and we'll see how we go. Oh, I've got to do it over here.
We go back to this question. I think the problem I had was that I had the camera in the wrong shutter speed. I didn't have it fast enough. I had it still set at 1/4 of a second, but I've now bumped it up. So we should be fine. So we've still got the camera here, as we mentioned, shooting at 1/60th. And then when we go over and we look at it on the app, what we can see in the AFC mode is that if I touch, there is a little white screen or a white dot that is left behind when we touch the screen. And what that is doing is that is showing us where we're focusing to in the app. As we move over, we can see on the camera that the focus points are changing as we change between them. So when we select manual focus with this in those two modes, this gives us the function to focus pull. By touching the screen, we can focus pull between 2 points. It is when it is in the autofocus continuous mode where we can get real-time tracking and track the object. And we can see that the little icon with what looks like wings, I suppose, off to one side and the hand above the AWB is letting us know that we are doing tracking. So if I was to touch something, we can see that the white mark is indicating the area that I am tracking, and it will go from there. So that is how we are using the touch focus through the app, is through that. But the camera does need to be set into video mode, and you do have to have the shutter speed at an appropriate shutter speed, not at 1/4 of a second, like I was just trying to do.
So that really is an amazing feature. Now, I'm certain that's not available in any other camera that Sony have given us in the A-series cameras anyway, where we've been able to see the actual tracking icon move. You'll see the little icon when you click on it. Unfortunately, that it just didn't show it very, very big. But this looks amazing. And like I said, finally, you've got the ability to do tracking, to do racking focus between different areas and see the spots that you're actually tracking with. And I don't think that's available with any other camera that we've had there before. Before, it would just basically focus on whatever you were pointing at. There was no sort of control that was there. So this really has added a great feature. And, you know, in one way, I'd almost buy it just for that feature alone, because if you're standing somewhere away from the camera or whatever, or you're filming yourself and something like that, you can do multiple things just by using the app that I don't think you've had with any features before. It's a pity. It was one thing that I always found that I lacked with the other cameras, that you had no control over those focusing modes through the app, and for some reason they've just enabled it with the A7S III. I mean, someone might be able to tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure you could never do it before with the app that was there. You never had those focus controls that were showing the actual focus box and things like that. So I think that is a great feature. And again, it's something, I suppose, where they've exceeded expectations. At least they've given us that. And I didn't even know about that until I watched that show the other day. So it's fantastic. So I'm really excited about that. I've just got to get that camera now. And I was looking at that last night when I was watching that Q&A, and I thought, wow. Another feature now that's just making me think. Luckily, Kiri hasn't brought my coffee in yet. It's another thing where I think, boy, I've got to get my hands on one of those cameras, because it seems to be, you know, it seems to have everything that's there. Shane said the rack focus feature on the A7S III is amazing. You can do it in the GH5S, but you have to program it on the fly. Yeah, I know, Shane, it does. It seems like it's a fantastic feature. And again, it's a real bonus that you're getting by by having that camera. Boy, I wish they'd give us that feature in the other cameras as well, but if you have to just get it on the a7S III, it's just the way it's going to have to be. It's looking more and more and more like I'm going to get that camera. Let me take these off. Because it just seems like it's going to meet all of the needs that I have. I've been thinking more and more about the 12 megapixel, and I did do a whole review about that where I used to shoot weddings and stuff like that with 12 megapixel. And I could pretty easily blow up to 20 by 30 on a 12 megapixel camera. So I think overall, even though I was sort of contemplating waiting for the A7 IV, and seeing what that was offered first, I am going more and more into video, and I'm very confident with what I've got with my A9 and also the A7 III. The other A7 III I've got Kerry use, I could sell that. So I think I probably will get the A7S III, and then maybe next year look at, say, the A7 IV when that comes out, and then I can make a decision in that regard. So I'm probably going to do that. But this was just another feature where I thought, wow, what a great feature to be able to do that rack focusing, you know, being able to see the icon, unlike any others that were there. Thank you, Kerry. She's just brought in my coffee.
No worries. There you go.
Thanks, hun.
Hi.
Love ya. Yeah, so she brought my coffee in. She's lovely. Actually, it's not coffee, it's Milo. Let me just have a sip. It is hot. Yes, I did see, Prasad said, your thoughts on Matt Granger selling all of his Nikon gear. Well, I did see that. It's Prasad just asked here down the bottom there. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, I'm not sure whether Matt had Sony or another brand contacting him, and perhaps he's trying to get a sponsor to, you know, give him cameras. I'm not sure whether that's part of the agenda there. I don't know. But I don't blame Matt. I mean, I think if I was in Matt's boat, I would do the same thing. Well, I did, in fact. I mean, I sold all of my Nikon gear 3 years ago, I think it was. I sold all of my Nikon gear, so I don't blame him for doing that. I mean, the future is mirrorless, obviously, and perhaps he's just thinking that he needs to get rid of the gear while you can get a decent amount of money from it. The only confusing part that I thought was a bit strange was the fact that he said he was selling all of it without making a decision on what he was buying. And to me, that seems a little bit strange, because I sold mine immediately and then immediately bought other gear because I'm a working studio. So I had to have something to replace the gear with. So it seems to me a little bit strange, but I suppose Matt perhaps just does more YouTubey stuff, and he doesn't, he's not a working photographer professional like what my business is, that he can take a bit longer to buy the gear or decide what gear he's getting, or whether he's just trying to hang out and hopefully get a sponsorship from Canon or Sony or whoever. I don't know. That could be what he's after, but I certainly don't blame him, because like I said, I think if I would be doing the same thing. If I was really had that much gear that was in digital SLRs, I would get rid of it while you can get good money back for that gear, and then obviously move into mirrorless from now anyway. John said, is there any Irish in that coffee? No, it's Milo. It's not coffee. It's just like a chocolate, hot chocolate. So that's what I think. I don't think there's anything, bad about what he's doing. I think it's probably sensible, in fact. Get rid of it while you get decent amount back. I'm not sure whether he might also have an arrangement with that company he was selling it with. It's a US company. He may have a relationship with them too, that they're giving him back more, because it seemed to be a big advert for them as well. So that may also be something in it, that he might be getting back more than what he normally would have, or something like that. But yeah, I mean, who knows? I would be wondering though whether he's sort of pushing for a sponsorship from someone, but we'll have to wait and see. So let me just go over to Q&A, just see what you guys are saying, if you're saying anything about this focusing stuff. Like Shane said, the rack focusing feature on the A7S is amazing. You can do it in the GH5S, but you have to program it, not on the fly. Yeah, I know, it's so great. Be able to go to manual focus and then rack focus like that. It's fantastic. Steve's here. Said Sony, no baloney. Shane said, I've now committed to Sony moving from Panasonic by ordering the Tamron 17 to 28 and 28 to 75 ahead of getting the A7S III. A couple of great lenses there, Shane. You'll love those two lenses. I really loved both of those lenses. In fact, the 28 to 75 really goes off one of my cameras. I did that full shoot that you looked at. If you checked the product shot shoot that I did the other day, I did all of that with the 28 to 75. Nevak said, come on, David, there's never been any question. You're getting the A7S III. I love it. Well, I just said I probably am now. Kerry's gone. Shh, don't tell Kerry. I love it. Raymond said, don't worry about the 2 thumbs down. I got those right at the start of the show anyway. Those are stale from 2 hours ago. I love it. Carl said, Matt said he was due to him replacing his gear, so it was planned. Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me. Like I said, I'd be getting rid of digital SLR as well. I did the same thing myself, so I can't criticise him for doing it. Hero said, I'm glad I sold my Z50 just in time. The Z5 is going to kill it off. Yeah, I know it will. That's interesting. Now, Prasant said, I think Matt will go with the Canon route. Well, he has sort of thrown a few things at Sony. The other day, he did have a go at Sony for not sending him the A7S III. He had a real rant about that on his YouTube channel. I don't know whether that's still there or not, or was it on Facebook? I can't remember. But I know he did have a big rant about it. So, yeah, he may. I don't think it will be Sony. Perhaps it will be Canon. Too many Sony folks on YouTube now these days. This way he can attract the Canon crowd to his channel. It will be interesting, though, to see if it does affect his channel, though, which will be interesting. John said, Matt alluded to proactively against value loss. I think he selected a replacement already, just creating drama. Yeah, and I think that probably is true, because if you've got a business, and I think Matt does it as a business, if you've got a business, you've got to make a decision before you sell your gear. You can't just sell it all like that and then just be waiting without having anything there. It doesn't make sense to me, and that's what I thought was a little bit strange about the way Matt was talking. You're probably right. He probably is to try and drum up, interest in his channel and all that sort of stuff. Not that he should need it. I mean, he has 500,000 subscribers or some ridiculous number. What else? She said KEH. Oh, that's right, KEH. And it was really pushing KEH in that chat. Like it was, I don't know whether it was a bit honest or not, but he certainly was pushing that. I wouldn't think you'd get good money back from KEH, but you guys might be able to tell me whether you think that's true or not. But, I think it was a big advert for KEH, that's for sure. Leslie said, power outage, that's the third one this morning. Oh, that's not good. KEH is like GameStop. I'm worried the A7 IV will slip to summer 2021. I'm still tipping that it's going to be late this year because I think they still have to answer the Z6. I don't think Sony have got anything that can answer, the R6. I don't think Sony have got anything that can answer that side of it. So I think you're going to find that it will be announced sooner than later. But I'll talk about the new Sony camera, the A5, as the next story, actually. What else have we got? Purchased the Tamron 70 to 180. I love that lens. It's such a great lens. I'll get that eventually. For my wife, she loves that focal length but complains the GM is too heavy. Kerry does exactly the same thing. The Tamron is much lighter and it's so sharp, that lens. It's great. Hero said, yeah, Granger's been shooting with the A7R4 and the A9 II for a while now. He's already made his choice. It'll be interesting, though, to see if it is Sony, though, Hero, because like I said, he bagged Sony for not sending him the A7S III. And I think that's because he's had a sort of vendetta against Sony for a while. Matt, unfortunately, did really bag Sony. Look, I've done this. I've had a go at Sony before, but it was warranted. Where some of the things where Matt bagged Sony were ridiculous. Remember the thing where he had the wrong focusing modes? That's the time I brought in a tree and I held it in front of me as a joke. So Matt has shot himself in the foot a few times with Sony because he said the wrong thing. When he bagged the A9 when that came out, you know, and he's done some things over the time where I thought, you know, yeah, tree AF, yeah. He's done some silly things with Sony over the last couple of years. So I can sort of understand why Sony didn't send him that camera, because he bagged cameras that really should not have been bagged. I mean, he bagged the A9 when he had it, that stupid tree AF business that went on, that he couldn't get the focus and he had the wrong focusing modes, wrong settings. You know, and I don't know whether he did that deliberately or not, but he's had an agenda against Sony, I think. So I'm not surprised that Sony haven't looked after him. Like I said, I've also had to go at Sony too, but when I do it, it's usually warranted. But yeah. What else have we got? Anthony said, hey, David, glad to see you in such a long time. Well, good to see you, Anthony. Shane said, Peter Gregg went off about the Z5, ripped Nikon a new one. The Christmas room turned into a rant room for a while. Really? Look, I haven't even really looked at that much, Shane. I know I did see Peter put that up there. I must go and watch it to see what he was saying. I think he was saying it was a really bad camera. I haven't even looked at the Z5. You know what? I might even just bring it up now because I'm just curious to see what it's got. Because I'm just curious to know what it has. What's the big thing about it? Let me just see here. Let me go to there. So let me just see. So, okay, so the body looks like a decent size full frame, comfy grip, solid build, logical camera controller layout, high resolution EVF, 5-axis AF system, very capable AF system, underwhelming burst shooting speed, disappointing video specs including crop 4K. Oh, that's bad. Tilt angle display not variable. Let me just see what else they're saying about it just through here. 3.6 million dot electronic EVF. Well, that's not bad. 24 megapixels, so that's okay. Also very capable 273-point autofocus system that works well for static and moving subjects. It's 4.5 frames per second. Well, that's pretty poor. That's pretty poor. That's not good at all. While limited 4K shooting means it's not ideal. Are they saying what the crop is? Well, let's say what they're saying here. Compared to its closest rivals, the Canon EOS RP and the a7 II, the Nikon Z5 is certainly the best option out there right now. It offers more sophisticated features than the EOS RP and a much more accessible camera than the aging a7 II. So what was he saying was the major problem with it? It's saying the price here, it costs $16.99 United States dollars. Yeah, I wonder what he was saying was the issue. Let me know in the chat because I'm just curious to know. I mean, for the price, it's probably not that bad. I mean, it is only an entry-level camera, remember? Let me just check here. Where were we up to? Tony and Chelsea sold 10K in used gear to KEH a few months ago. KEH is getting a lot of promo. They're probably making some deals with these big YouTubers. They're probably paying them to go through them, I'd say. The way that Matt kept saying KEH in that video, it was definitely paid sponsorship. I'm sure it was. I sold some lenses to KEH a couple of years ago. They gave me a very fair price. Well, that's good to know, Rob. Not surprising that if someone is selling a lot of gear, they would like a deal that KEH offered. The only way you're getting a good price from KEH or any of those companies is if you are being sponsored by them. Raymond said, where were we? Having the 24 GM and the 135 GM only, wondering what should be next. The Sigma 85 is very tempting, but maybe a zoom should be next. My new Zhiyun Crane 2S is going to be fun. That's a great gimbal. If you already have the 24 and the 135, I probably would tend 55. I love the 55 Sony lens. I adore that lens. It's fantastic also for on a gimbal. One of my favorite focal lens. The 85 and the 135, I do use those a lot, but if you've already got 24 135, it might be good to say get the 55. If you want a zoom lens, why not something like the 28 to 75? Or the Sigma 2470 could be great lens to get in that line as well. That could be a really good sort of setup that you could use in that as well. Anthony said, check out the latest Sony Alpha Rumours thread on the new entry-level full-frame camera. Yeah, I might do that actually. Let me go to Sony Alpha because I'm going to do that as the first story, so I'll check Sony Alpha in a minute. Michael's here as well. G'day, Michael. Prasad said, Chelsea Northrop claims their favourite photography genre is wildlife photography, but a portfolio lack of a single good wildlife picture. Oh, boy. Nick said A5 equals A7 II. Yeah, that's roughly what they're sort of pricing that at too, I think. Ike said, I don't care what you sold or what you're buying, only what you're doing with it. Good point, Ike. Let me just see. John said B&H just got their R6s in. I should have mine in hand any day now. How exciting, John. Photo Miak says, laugh out loud, Michael, I'm a working photographer that makes YouTube videos. Granger, Fro, TS, Autos, you are all YouTubers. Those are YouTubers. That's the one thing that we can say, I suppose. Ike and myself do work full-time as a photography studio. YouTube is secondary for what we do. We're certainly not full-time YouTubers, that's for sure. John Drummond, but she claims to be a wildlife photographer and previous numerous videos, even making wildlife tutorials. So much for the inspiration. Yep. I think, well, you can always tell because if these YouTubers tend to say, Manny's a wonderful photographer, Manny does great work, I love Manny's work. If you go to their portfolio, you'll see what they really have and you'll be able to tell whether they are really a working photographer or not. Tony B, YouTubers complaining about YouTubers on YouTube. I love it. Got mine yesterday. He was talking about that. There was something else there. Tony B said, blah, blah. Yeah, they're just YouTubers. What else have we got? Michael, I talk the talk and walk the walk. Those other guys just talk. And that's about it. Let me just read this before we move on. I'm leaving Sony. You're leaving Sony this year. Sony let me hang dry with my A7R2. No firmware update ever. My biggest complaint with the Sony R2 is not flash bracketing. No S-Log with stupid app. Sony colors sucks even in Aces. So you're just not happy with it. Yeah, well, look, I mean, you have to make a decision yourself whether you'd like to do that. There's been big improvements, though, since those cameras, though. Now, let me just, we're going to go to the next story, which is going to be the A7 A5. But let me just bring up Sony Alpha Rumours just to make sure that nothing's changed because I put these in last night. Yeah, so it has, I think. So let me read this because we're going to look at the R5. So let me just go over to here. The A5, sorry. I can't believe they're saying it's going to be $2,000. I think that's a bit expensive. Rumour, the new full-frame camera will have entry level of a new camera line, but the price will be above $2,000. I think that's a bit expensive. I think it probably should have been between $1,000 and $1,600, somewhere like that. But I don't know. Let me see what it's saying in here. For months, I get the rumour saying Sony would announce a new entry-level camera. I suppose this would mean it would be priced below the A7 III. I was wrong. I am now 100% sure of the info that I will share now. So what he's saying, yes, this is an entry-level camera of a new line of FE mount cameras. No, the price will not be below the A7 III, but higher than the A7 III. Now, I want to read the specs on this because this is really interesting. They're saying here that the new line will define a series of compact and tiny full-frame E-mount cameras for vloggers, YouTubers, and travelers. Excuse me. So they are aiming for vloggers, YouTubers, and travelers with this. And that's why, if you look at it, they're talking about having this body that looks like this, which is like an A6 600. That's what they're talking about having with a full frame sensor in it. So this is what they're saying it's going to be for vloggers. It's going to have a fold out, flip out screen. It's going to have the new touch interface of the A7S III. It's going to have the same menu of the A7S III. Etc., etc. So it is going to have similar things to that. So it's interesting that they're saying, if you compare it, say, to here, to the A7, this is the A7 III on this side, this is the A6 600 on this side. So this is what they're going to be basing it on. Let me just see what they're saying as the latest rumours. So they're saying it's definitely for vloggers, YouTubers, and travellers. They're saying it's going to be announced mid-September. So what are we, 2 weeks away for that? Similar to the A7 III specs, I guess it will be the same 24 megapixel sensor and the same AF performance. It has the same A7S III fully articulating screen, body size of the A6 600. The camera will be marketed for vloggers and YouTubers. Battery is the MP, well, it's the Z battery. USB Type-C. It has a single SD card slot. It has both a mic in and a headphone jack, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. I'm a bit confused now. Because I would still buy, look, if this has an articulating screen, there's two ways that you can look at this, I suppose. If you were a photographer and a fusion type photographer, you would buy the A7 III. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if you're earning any money, this has dual card slots for starters, and it's a slightly larger body. So it makes more sense if you're a photographer, a working photographer, that you would go with the A7 III over this, particularly if the A7 III is cheaper than this. What's the A7 III now? Let me just bring up B&H. Because I'm just curious to see what they're pricing that at now. A7123. Okay, so the current price, if you look at that, the current price at B&H for the A7 III is $1,998. So this is really interesting. I think Sony are pricing this camera way too high. Way too high. Let me just check what the R6 is. So the Canon R6 is $2,499, so that's priced above that, and you would think that's probably fair due to the fact of the specs that they're offering with the R6. I mean, the R6 is a much more advanced, even though there's heat problems, but the R6 is a much more advanced camera, really, than what the A7 III is, so you would sort of justify the price being higher than that. What's the, I'm just seeing what the, let's see what the Nikon Z5 is. So the Nikon Z5 is $1,396. Interesting. So looking at those figures, I think it's way too expensive. What do you guys think? I'd love to know in the chat. Do you think $2,000 is too expensive for this camera? Look, I suppose if you're a vlogger, I mean, I think the ideal camera to vlog with is this thing. I mean, I really do believe if you're a vlogger, you're better off to go for this sort of thing, the ZV-1, than the full frame type camera, really, if you're vlogging. I don't really think a vlogger needs a full frame camera. I just don't think you need that. The price difference between those two cameras is incredible, and the ZV-1 actually is very, very good. It still has the flip out screen, amazing autofocus. Yes, you can't change the lenses, but you know, the price of that, what is it, $700 or something? There's a massive step up if you are doing vlogging or YouTubing and you've jumped up to $2,000 for a camera that's like this, that's based on an A6 600 that's going to be full frame. Yes, it's going to be full frame, but I doubt the IBIS is going to be fantastic in this. It's not going to probably be as good as the ZV-1. if they're talking about, say, vlogging. Remember, the camera body size is going to be small. What's heat going to be like? I don't know. I mean, you've got no dual card slot. I still think if I had the choice, looking at where someone's just said, what if it's got global shutter? I mean, it might have a completely different shutter. If it is the same sensor as the a7 III, even though this has a flip-out screen and the new menu system of the a7S III, I would probably still buy the a7 III over this due to the fact that the a7 III has dual card slots. But that's me as a working professional. But we still have to wait. Remember, we're still only seeing rough specs of this at the moment. We don't know what it's going to have, but they're not sort of saying in the hints that it's going to have anything really that special. I mean, they're sort of hinting that it's got the same features as the a7S III. When I say a7S III, it's got the fold-out screen and the new menu. Apart from that, it's just the a6600 body. What do you think? I mean, I don't know. We have to wait, I suppose. Perhaps they're going to give us some amazing thing. This may be an incredible camera that we don't know yet what's going to have in it. It could be incredible. I mean, I'm just guessing. I think if they price this at $2,000, it's going to have to be really, really amazing. I think that's way overpriced. And Leslie just said I would have priced it at $1,400 to $1,600. I agree. I think at $2,000, a fraction over what the a7 III is at the current prices. If it has really nothing extra, and I don't count the flip out screen and the new menu as being amazingly worth, like a few $100s over what the a7 III has. I'm not sure about this camera, so it's going to be interesting. But stay tuned, I suppose. We'll know more as time goes on what they offer in this. But I think at current specs, from what I'm seeing on Sony Alpha Rumours, it's overpriced. I did also see yesterday that they had the Japanese source explains why he wanted to make they were making the A5 and the A6. And they said, what they said here, the guy told me that although first and second generation full frame bodies up to the a7 II are still on sale, the prices have gone down a lot over the years, obviously. It says, then they say the problem for Sony is that these bodies are not profitable because they must keep using the same parts from 6 years ago, even when there are cheaper equivalent alternatives on the market, so production costs have not gone down much. And then they're saying, so their solution is to make an a7 II level entry full frame camera, the Sony A5. I don't have any details yet. So it's interesting when you read that, but they're saying it's going to be this a7 II level, but it's priced above the a7 III. So I'm confused. They're also saying here that similar body to the A6000 series, 5 frames per second IBIS, no pop-up flash, a low-res EVF, also a touch screen like the a7S III. They do say that it records 4K 24 10-bit 100 megabits per second, but they're saying that it may be crippled with no audio. And you have to use S&Q mode. So there's still some real answers that we've got to get for this camera that at this stage I'm not, 100% sure about. But boy, if they are going to charge this $2,000 for this camera, it's going to want to be a lot better than what they're sort of putting these specs in here. It's certainly got to be a lot better than just an a7 III chucked into an a6 body without the dual card slots. So interesting. Let me just go back to the chat just for a second to see what people are saying in the live chat about this. Well, what if it has global shutter? I don't think so, looking at the rumours that are out there, though. Let's find out Nikon Z6 over the Canon R6. I think the Canon R6... I probably would go for the R6 out of those two cameras, particularly now that the new firmware updates, and I'll talk about those soon. How much will the a7 IV cost? It's probably going to be a similar price. It'll be a little bit cheaper than the a7S III. I think you will see a big bump in the price of the a7 IV though. If they're going to give us an a7 IV that's going to have 4K 60 in it with much better bit depths, a fold-out screen, because I think now that's going to be the standard. We're going to have the fold-out screen and the new menus on all the new cameras now. So I think you're going to find that camera is going to be way more expensive than what the current A7 III is. Definitely. It's probably going to be a little bit under what the A7S III is. So I think you're going to have to pay for that camera because it's going to be a good one. Altric's here. G'day, Altric. Good to see you made it. Video Beauty said you're a great presenter. Oh, thank you so much. Venom said all Sony needs is an A7 III with a flip out screen. That's it. And that would be a great camera. I don't know why they sort of haven't brought something like that out and given us 4K 60. If they had the A7 III as it is, but they bumped up the processor to allow us to do 4K 60, that would be an incredible camera with a flip out screen and the new menus. I'd be happy with that alone. I think you're going to find, though, all of the new cameras that come out are going to be based on the A7 R4 body. I think that's now going to become the standard for all the new A-series type cameras. When I say A-series, I'm talking about the A7 series and up. So I think we're going to have that. I think you'll find that they will have the same CF Express A type cards now and everything, because Sony's going to want to sell those. Remember, they're proprietary. Those cards are proprietary, so they're going to want to sell them. So I think you'll probably find that nearly all the cameras that come out now will probably have those dual slots to be able to use both the SD cards and the CF Express. I said that Leslie said 1,400 to 1,600. Yeah, I would have thought that would have been a better price as well. I expect to do stills and some 4K B-roll with mine. Travis said there is a new lower cost Panasonic L-mount camera on the way too. Yes, I saw that the other day. Looks pretty good. The only problem with Panasonic for me is the focus is an issue. I really wish that they'd change to using a different focusing system. Gagan said, I think Sony doesn't want to cannibalize their A6600. Not sure. Nivac said, I think APS-C may be finished. I think long-term APS-C may be gone. They may do another camera on it, but I can't see them. If they put a full-frame camera in the A6600 body, I wouldn't be surprised then if APS-C is done. Michael said, A6600 camera for 2,000. That thing better have a NDs built inside of it and a coffee maker. Yeah, I know, I agree, Michael. It's too expensive. They're going to have to give you something really good at that price range. I can't see it. Yes, the Canon R6 is a good camera. It has some flaws with the heating and stuff, but it's still a good camera. Hero, well, it is. You're true, Axeman. Until the camera comes out, it is all rumours. Hero said, I shot all day and did 30 minutes of 4K 60 at the zoo in Florida with no warning. Also have to add that it came out in the box with the 1.1 firmware. Carl said, the info too sketchy at this point. I don't believe it. Yeah, it could be, Carl. I mean, I just can't believe that. Those rumoured specs are not enough to charge $2,000 for that camera. I don't believe it either, I don't think. Let me see. Leanna said, a A7 with flip out and better menu at a competitive price would be great. Michael, you got the ATI Mini. I say yesterday, it's nuts. I know, how good. That is such a good unit. I've just got the ATI Mini, the first one that came out, Michael, and I'm happy with that one, but the new one looks really good. Theodora's here as well. Has anyone seen my professional portfolio? Top in the field. Oh, I love it. Someone's taking him off, I'd say there. Tom said, so if this rumours are correct, so the A7 4 will no longer be an entry-level camera. No, it won't be. The A5 will be their entry-level full-frame camera, so that's changing completely. John said, oh, he's talking to someone else. Just put 4K 60 in the A7 III and I'm sold. I agree, JP. Exactly. Gary said Taylor Jackson shot a wedding with the R6 and said he could not put it down and that it would be the wedding photographer camera of the year as of now. I think it'd be a great camera, Gary. Tony said flippy screen, no record limit, 10-bit 422, no loss of face detection when recording internally. A7 IV perfect. Rob said, given the choice, I would rather see a high-end APS-C in an A7 A9 size body. I agree. I think I thought that was going to happen as well. That's what I thought the A7000 was going to be. It was going to be in a A7 body, the APS-C. Granger needs to disclose his arrangement with Sony. I have one with Fuji, but I don't tell anyone. I wonder who's taking him off. I love it. What else have we got? Peter Gregg was disappointed with the Nikon Z5 due to the crop 4K and no articulating screen. Okay. It is an entry-level camera, though, so I suppose, you know, you can't expect too much. Have something, best choice camera for $500. No, I don't really. Sorry, I don't shoot with anything in that price range. Like I said, that's the cheapest one for me, the ZV-1, and that's $750 US. John said, if the R6 is shipping with updated firmware, that's great news. Yeah, I think all the new Canons will be. I'm going to talk about the R5, though. Some of those things are just terrible that came on with that. All right, let's go on to the next story. Let me go up to here. New lens from Sigma. It's getting so exciting in the lens department, guys. We really are getting some incredible things coming up in the future. Now, one of these particularly interests me because Sigma have patented 3 FE prime lenses. There's a 12mm f2.8. There's a 14mm, sorry, 4. There's a 14mm f2. Wow, I mean, that is incredible. That'll be huge honking lens, I'd say. And a 14mm 2.8. There's a whole stack of info that you can read about this too if you're interested in having a look at these. I'm going to vote now, actually, because I'm interested in the 12mm 2.8. Let me just vote. I want to see what people are interested in. Oh, most people want their 14 f2. So you've got most people are after 42% are after the 14 f2, 24% are after the 12mm 2.8, and the 14 2.8 is the third. I've been after a wide-angle prime lens for a while that will be autofocus. This might be the lens that I've been waiting for. It's probably not going to be too expensive. As we know, the Sigmas look really good, like beautiful quality, and they're about $1,000 cheaper usually than anything Sony can produce. So I'm really interested in these, and I can't wait to see them come out. So 12mm 2.8 for me, I would love. 14 f2.2 sounds incredible, but it's probably going to be a massive honking lens. I mean, who knows? But I think it's going to be a big lens. I probably will look at the 12mm f2.8 when it comes out. I'm still hoping that Tamron releases some lenses, you know, in this range. They bring out some really wide-angle fast primes. It's going to happen, and I'm waiting for that to happen. So, you know, I'm hoping Tamron do something like that as well. But again, how blessed are we in the Sony realm now that we have so many different options that we can use, and there's 3 more great lenses that will be coming out, I suppose, reasonably soon if they're patented, you know, maybe later this year or early in the start of the new year. I just wanted to also show, talk about Canon for a little bit with you guys. It's not going to really be a rant, but I just want to talk about some things that have come up. Canon have released a new firmware. Let me just move this over. Canon have released a new firmware for the EOS R5, and it's firmware 1.1, and it improves overheating time. I'm not going to go much through this because there's stacks of stuff online about it, but they're saying they've, let me just go over here, that they have fixed some overheating things. Now, they're not really mentioning much, but there's a few video reviews out there talking about it, how it's been improved. Not greatly, but it has been improved. When using certain RF lenses for shooting movies, the in-lens stabilization mechanism has been improved. Perhaps they've got rid of that warping effect, which was terrible. So I'm hoping for the Canon shooters that has fixed that, because the warping I've seen so far has been awful. So it may fix that. And then they've got some other fixes there as well. The temperature detection when shooting, control in video shooting has been improved. So they're saying that's been improved as well. So there is now a new firmware update that's come out. But, excuse me, there is some interesting things. Voice is getting hoarse. There are also some hacks out that show using tape over your battery compartment things and things like that that defeats the time limit that's on the Canon camera. What this is showing, there's a number of articles that have come out that have shown that the heat was not related to heat at all. It's not related to temperature at all. It was related to a timer. And this is where I think that Canon really have hurt themselves and they've been caught out. There's a number of videos, and I'll leave these links so that you can have a look, but there's a number of videos out there that show how it can be hacked, and they're using things like pins taped down and just remove the battery, and then there's no time limit on the camera. It's really bad what is going on. And then there's just another page there that shows how they fixed the firmware updates. But these hacks, what are online, have showed that they put a little bit of tape or something underneath, and they can use something like a paper clip or a screw or something like that. They tape it to the battery door so that the camera thinks it's always got the battery door closed. And what it's doing, it's writing to memory. So when you do anything with your camera, it writes it to memory in the camera. Now, what they do is, that's how the timer's working in the Canon camera. And then what happens is, the way they sort of built this hack was they kept the door open, and they taped, I think it was a paper clip or something, or a little screw or something, to the battery door, a little sensor that was there, so it thought the battery door was closed all the time. Then after you recorded for a period of time, you just pull the battery out and put the battery back in, and then you had your 30 minutes of recording again. So Canon have been caught out with this. Because it's proved that basically it's got nothing to do with heat at all. It's totally to do with timers that are inside the camera. So I think it's really bad that Canon have done this, and they've been caught out because of these hackers have found a way to get around it. Having to do that is just terrible. So, you know, anyway, just to talk about that, I'm really disappointed with what Canon have done here. I think it's terrible, but at least the firmware update has helped things now. I watched a video this morning. Who was it? It was Dan, I think. Let me just go to find who it was, and I'll just tell you. Ooh. I think it was Dan Watson. History. I think Dan Watson said this morning when I watched his video, let me just find where it is. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was, it's Dan Watson. Dan Watson this morning put up a video online to say that he could shoot with the camera doing 4K 60 almost permanently, as long as he could record for, say, 3 minutes. You'd turn it off for a minute, then turn it back on, and you could basically go forever. But you had to keep turning it off. The problem is, if you keep the camera on, that timer is counting down, and it'll overheat. So it's a real it's a real problem. So I think Canon needs to do something here for the users. I mean, having to come around with all these workarounds, being constantly worried about it overheating is a real problem. They've been caught out. I'm really disappointed in the ambassadors for Canon. It just shows that you really can't trust ambassadors, because they should have they should have all said, look, we've got a major problem with the heating at this right from the beginning, and none of them pointed that out. Peter McKinnon sort of mentioned it, but you know, I think it's not good. Anyway, it looks like the latest firmware fix has given you more time, but it still overheats. There are workarounds, but I just think it's not good. And the last story I wanted to show you was, if you have bought a 12 to 24 millimeter G Master lens, there is a new NISI filter. This is the R6 that you can use to put over it. Remember, when you're talking about lenses that have the bulbous front on them, it's very, very hard to, you can't use variable NDs where you put the variable ND, screw it onto the front of the actual filter thread. So to have that, this sort of system is great. If you're doing landscape and stuff, which is what you'd use a lot of these lenses for, real estate, you can now use this filter system, this NISI S6 filter system on that lens, and it looks like a really nice system. It wouldn't be cheap though, I would say. I've got a review of a similar system to this that'll come out soon. It was one that I took to the US that I use, but it's just something else that you can look at there too. All right, so let's just go quickly to Q&A. I'll just start from down here, I think. Oh, is the video gone? Is it still working now, guys? Let me just go to YouTube. Are we still live or is it gone? Let me just go to YouTube. Oh, no, it's there. Let me just stop that. We're back. I must have lost it for some reason. John said the R6 fits my needs perfectly, especially with the update since I'm already Canon invested. And that's exactly right. If you are Canon invested, it would be fantastic. They just should have marketed it better. They really shouldn't have pushed that so much with the 8K footage, I think. They really should have been more honest about the whole thing from the beginning. And the ambassadors for Canon should have been more honest as well. Michael said, we have to understand Canon has been dragging their feet for so long and recycling tech that Canon shooters are just happy to have anything good, faults and all. Carl said Canon is controlling the overheating with duty cycle instead of temperature monitoring. Overriding this will damage the internal components. Maybe. See, the other thing too, and this is a thing too that I think Canon should fix with the firmware, they should allow you to back up video to both cards. That is a really bad cripple hammer that Canon have done there. Not giving you the ability to back up onto both cards is a terrible flaw. Giving you a 30-minute recording limit also is a flaw that they should enable you to override that with firmware. There's no reason to have that now in any new cameras. So they're two things that Canon really have stuffed up badly on. Not having dual recording and not giving the ability to go past the 30-minute recording limit. What does he say? I think your show is overheating. Max said if they have any way to determine if you've bypassed the safety software, you might lose your warranty. You may. That's exactly right. I had the Canon rant. See, I did a Canon rant and the thing went off. Tim said the question is, does it actually overheat or is it still software? Well, it's been proven. If you watch some of the reviews, Tim, when they measure it with the gauges, it doesn't actually overheat ever. So it's firmware, it's hardware limited by the firmware with timers, and that's the problem that they need to address. Video Beauty said, you were predicting global shutter. I know I was. Did not happen. Are you going to test Red Komodo? Dynamic range looks really good and it's global. Yeah, I'd love to if I could get my hands on one. I don't know where I'd find one though. G'day Langston. I would imagine you can actually get it to overheat too, Tim Monroe, but Canon muddied the waters so much it's hard to tell. The problem is you have to, having a camera that there's so many issues that are there is a worry, and that's the problem with it all. Canon really need to come out and fix those problems that are there. That's the issue. Venom said, today we learned David secretly bought the R5. No, I was looking at it though. I'm glad I didn't. What else? Langston said, good point, Tony. I'm not sure what that was about. John said, good point, really, the R5, R6 dual backup. Though that won't work with the 8K on the R5. Yeah, I can understand that because of the cards there. But like John, the thing is, I can understand it if it won't work, if it's too much to do to both cards, well, that's fine. That's fine. But if you say doing 4K and it can go to both cards, they should give you the ability to back up to both cards. And I don't understand why they don't do that. That's just a cripple hammer that doesn't need to be there. And I really think Canon should look after you guys and take that away. They should give you the ability, to back up to both cards. And like I said, get rid of that recording limit as well. That should be gone. Shane said, I'd buy the R5 except I don't have room in my bag for all the toothpicks. Oh, that's right. It was a toothpick, wasn't it, Shane? I forgot about that. Yeah, it was. It was a toothpick. It wasn't a screw or a paper clip. It was a toothpick. Yeah. Raymond said, wondering your take on this. The new A92 firmware offers to close the shutter when changing lenses. Could the a7 III get that feature? Well, I don't know, but I wouldn't use it anyway, Raymond. I just think that's another thing that can go wrong with your camera. I really don't think I'd be a big fan of closing the shutter. It's just something that if dirt or whatever got in there, it could jam the shutter closed. I think this is a personal thing. You may think totally different. If I had that feature on my camera, I would leave it off because I've never had a shutter fail on me anyway. I don't get that much dust. I just use the blower in there, blow it whenever I change the lenses, and I don't have issues with it. So I don't think I would ever use that feature anyway for fear that it could cause other problems. So I don't think I'd use it anyway. Langston said, I'm currently in hell trying to decide my next camera purchase. I think I'll be getting the A7S III, Langston. Pretty sure now that's what I'll be getting. Tony said, yep, all storage will fail eventually. Some just fail sooner than later. Gene said, I wonder if Langston's saying Blackmagic or Sony. I think if it was me, Langston, I would get the Sony A7S III. I wonder if they don't have a temperature sensor in the Canon R5 and just use timers instead. Well, who knows? Perhaps, Gene. But that'd be stupid if that's the case. Tim said, someone needs to have a temperature sensor probe with the camera closed to have the most accurate reading. Does seem to be mostly software. Hard to truthfully know. Yeah, I know. I agree, Tim. Axum says, I have new camera fever, but I need to wait for the A5. Yeah, well, you shouldn't have to wait too long. Michael said, that's crazy, laugh out loud. A toothpick. Yep, it was a toothpick that they used. Just don't ask Potato Jet. He will put the thing in an oven. Rob said they don't give the ability to back up to both cards now, so they can introduce it as an improvement later in firmware, new and improved. Yeah, it's just stupid. I cannot understand that thinking. I really cannot understand that thinking, Rob. I don't understand it. John said Canon claims to use 3 thermostats, 2 internal and 1 for ambient, but there must be a timer involved too. The interesting thing is too, I did read somewhere this morning that they said also that if you had a fan blowing on the right-hand side, that the camera, I think it was the right-hand side, the camera would last longer than without the fan. This was with internal testing indoors. So somewhere along the lines, there must be temperature sensors in there because that fan was making it go a little bit longer. But then they said they tried the fan outside and obviously it wouldn't work because it was hot. But again, it's so many things that can go wrong that, you shouldn't have to, as a user, worry about all of this sort of stuff. Tony said most processors will have built-in thermostat as well. Whoever fabs the chips would have one built in, and I don't know of any system on chips that would allow themselves to overheat. Michael said, David, if you try to wait for the A7 IV, I'm going to send you the A7 III for 2 weeks. And make you want it. I know you will, Michael. I think I'm going to get one, Michael. I don't think I'll be able to wait. Tony said other thermostats would be important for other components, but the processor itself would have its own kill switch. Probably not even accessible by the Canon, Sony, etc. firmware. Can you send it to me now? Langston said, pity I'm not in the States, Michael, but you haven't got them yet anyway, have you? It's September the 24th, I think. I think here in Australia they're saying we get them early October, so I think it's even later than you guys. Video Beauty said the tilter fan makes more sense now that the temperature sensor is working. And Nivak said, I saw a few videos saying the R5 writes temperatures to at least photo EXIF data, so it seems there are at least one thermometer inside. They'd have to. It's got to have that, doesn't it? Well, there we are, guys. We're at the end of the show. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending today. Love it if you could give me a thumbs up. That would be really, really would appreciate that. Like I said, I'm so close now to 30,000 subscribers. I think I'm going to hit it probably today or tomorrow. Well, it'll be over the next couple of days anyway, so I'm super excited about that. Really excited about it. You know, it means a lot to me, and thank you so much for all of the support that you guys have given me. So apart from that, have a great weekend, everyone. Stay safe. And I'll see you in the next videos. I've got a few videos, by the way, I've got a few videos coming up this week. I've got an amazing new slider that I'm going to show you. It's a motorized slider. And I've also got an incredible new head. It's sort of like a video and photographic head, but it's a mechanical type head that I'll talk about when I do it. It's not cheap, but it is one of the most beautiful things engineering that I've ever seen. So I'll also show you that in the coming days as well. So stay tuned for that as well. So thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate all your chat in the live chat, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now, guys.